Well, are you ready for the second season? Well, after about 10 weeks of regular season, we're ready to start the postseason when it comes to high school football. It's Thursday here on Cox Metro Sports, and we're going to talk high school football as the playoffs get ready to start. And coming up next on the show, we're going to talk about the Newman Greenies as they go for a state championship with quarterback Eli Manning. We're going to be talking with head coach Frank Gendusa. That's coming up next here on Cox Metro Sports.
Cinemax is the place for movie fans, and New Orleans is full of them.
I really like Jeff Peterson, ABC 26 Sports, and yes, it is time to talk high school football playoffs, one of the best times of the year in the state of Louisiana as they go for the Dome. And this Friday night, it's going to be 9-0 Newman taking on 5-4 Ridgewood in the opening round of the playoffs. And Frank Gendusa joining us. Frank, thanks for coming on the show. Man, you are wearing the green, and you're fired up about the playoffs. Man, you're wearing your colors and everything, all ready to go.
Absolutely. This is the best time. I mean, you work all year long, your kids work hard all year long, and to reach this goal, and now you just take it one step at a time and hope those 5 steps take you into the Dome.
Yeah, you've had 9 steps before this. Talk about how this season has just evolved. You knew you were going to have a good team, but did you know you were going to have a 9-0 team?
Well, I tell you, we knew we were going to be pretty solid offensively, and defensively we felt pretty good. We had 7 returning starters there. And we knew that our preseason schedule, which was the meat of our schedule, our early season stuff, and we just figured if we could stick in there, win some of those games early, establish what we were going to try to do offensively and defensively, that we had an excellent chance of going undefeated and to winning the district and getting into the playoffs.
Team you open up with, Ridgewood, a solid program. I mean, just walking out of the gates, we had Coach on earlier this year, and, you know, you see those helmets. It's like, oh, are we playing Michigan or Ridgewood? What is that?
Well, Steve Strapolo does an excellent job over at Ridgewood, and we've been friends for a number of years. My oldest son, actually, is a Ridgewood graduate, and so I've been knowing Steve for a number of years, and when he puts his team on the field, they're ready to play. He does a great job of preparing them, and one of the things I think Steve does really well, he's a good on-field coach, and so he can make adjustments on the spur of the moment.
Yeah, game earlier this year, 19-3, you guys beat them, and how much does this have any effect of the game you're playing now? Obviously, you're going to go back and look at some of the film of what you did right, and maybe a few things you did wrong. But how much does this, take effect in the playoff game?
Well, some people say it's a disadvantage maybe because you've played. It's always hard to beat a team twice. And then some guy says, well, you know what they're going to be doing. With Ridgewood, they're unpredictable because they're going to come out and try everything they can to try to beat you. I think if we tried to match up and we looked at each other, matching up position by position, we should be a better football team at this stage than they are. But I tell you what, they're gutty, and the kids are real aggressive on defense, and they took it to us the last time, and we're determined not to let that happen this time around.
And when you go into an opening round, it's just like, this is one and you're out. There's no double elimination tournament here. And just like the NCAA basketball tournament, you get some of these teams that right around 500 mark. Ridgewood is 5-4. They had a very good season, deserved to be in the playoffs. They're taking on a 9-0 undefeated team, and anytime you're 9-0, and especially you got a quarterback out, Eli Manning, you got all the history at Newman, man, you got a gigantic, forget the green and everything, you got a gigantic target right on your back come playoff time, every playoff game, and even during the regular season. I guess you guys are kind of used to it.
Well, it's one thing you just try to prepare your kids for, and each week it's a different scenario you have to take, and it's very hard getting your kids up week in and week out to try to play the best football they can. There are going to be those moments when you're not playing quite as well. What you just try to do is say, listen, what's happened to those first 9 games are behind us. That was the first part of what we tried to accomplish this year. That's done. Now you have to prepare. So you just clean the slate as much as you can. Of course, it's going to be in the back of your mind, but you tell them you got to clean the slate, you got to go out and prepare, work hard at practice, and get ready to play a football team that, one, has nothing really to lose. Like you said, they're 5-4. They're going to come after you with everything they have. And 2, they're going to be well prepared because they have a great coaching staff and good kids over there. So we've got our work cut out for us, and we've been working hard all week.
Yeah, you guys had a season where one week you'd go out and blow somebody out. Another week, there was a game that was kind of close, but not that close. It's tough because, in these games that you're up like 30. I remember listening on WWR radio on the back, way back from one of the games I was covering, and I listened, it's 35-0 at halftime or early in the third quarter, and you're like, well, I don't want to really run up the score, so you got to take some of your starters out, and you don't play that many regular season games. It gets kind of tough because you don't want to embarrass opponent, but you want to give you guys some, a lot of experience getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, correct. It's a fine line. You're trying to make sure that you do the right thing. As a coach, you're not out there to want to embarrass anyone's players or embarrass another team or a school. And unfortunately, there are some times when just the team is a little bit better than other, and you get up on top and the score gets a little lopsided. And what we've done, and one of the things I learned from Coach Reginelli, who I worked with for 18 years over at Newman School, is that he's a real compassionate kind of person, and he teaches you that you win and you win soundly, but you don't have to rub it in. And what we try to do is we play our kids as much as we think is necessary to get them ready. But then also, there's an understanding that, hey, I have some other kids I need to get some playing time for them. I'll put them in and let them play and see if they can perform. And while that's happening, not rubbing the score in or running it up on the other team. But it's a fine line, and no matter what you try to do, sometimes it always seems to be. It could be looked that way, that you are trying to do that. But we really try very hard not to let that happen. I can remember years ago when we were on the other end of that scale. And I can remember, playing those fine Curtis teams early when they were in our district. And one thing JT, and one thing I always really admired about him is that, he had really good football teams and good football players, but he would come out, beat you soundly, and he'd put in his second or third teams and let you play. And I learned a lot from that.
A good barometer. You look at the basketball scores from the year before and just go, well, I don't really want to score more than the basketball team did last year. And then it's a blowout.
Well, it's funny how sports have gone. When I first went over to Newman basketball, the basketball program was incredible over there. We had some really fine athletes, and then of course we had the Randy Livingston era, of which Cooper Manning and those guys were playing together, and basketball it still is very big at Newman School, and it was a great program. Coach Fitzgerald does a wonderful job over there, and now we're up to that. We feel that we've brought the football program from when I entered Newman 18 years ago. We had 35 players, and this year I'm dressing out 82. It's a big step with the same number of students in school. So there's some real advancements in what we've been trying to do with our program.
And winning helps out a lot. People want to go to Newman to play on the football team when they see the kind of success that you've had. And just the people that even go to school there, maybe coming in as a freshman or something in high school, kind of go, man, these guys are winning. I want to try to go out and play. I mean, success breeds success, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing for us, I think, that really turned it around, as I think when Peyton was playing and when Cooper was playing and those guys, and we had been successful before then. I mean, we'd had winning seasons and we had made the playoffs. But I think Peyton and his attitude sort of took us to the next level. They made us believe that when we went into the playoffs that we could compete with the teams that were in there. And his sophomore year, when we went to the semifinals and lost to Haynesville in the semis at school, now our kids expect to be there. They say, we're good enough to play. We can compete with these teams. And it's just created a whole different atmosphere at school.
Well, I tell you what, 9-0 Ridgewood as they get ready, or actually 9-0 Newman getting ready to take on 5-4 Ridgewood on Friday night out at Lupin Field. We're talking with Frank Gendusa, talking about Newman Greenie football. We're going to talk about the Mannings. You've been pretty lucky.
Been really fortunate is what that is.
We're going to talk with the Mannings over at Newman High School coming up right after this.
There, Coach. Fifth year, ranked 37.
I've always seen that way. I know. I'm looking at my pitch on TV. I knew I had
in the Newman program
a lot more hair, and it had a lot more color to it a few years ago. But that's what coaching does.
It's why sometimes it's such a fun thing to do, just like sportscasting, and I know you just have a passion for coaching, and I'm sure sometimes you go home and you're like, oh, this is the greatest job in the world, and other days you're going home going, oh my, you're ready to pull your hair out, and you just had a gut-wrenching game, you lose in the final seconds, and you go, why do I do this?
It's incredible.
Roller coaster ride.
Yeah, it is. You're up and down constantly, and it doesn't even have to happen between games. I mean, what I mean is, a win and a loss or anything like it can happen during the week when you practice. And the thing that I've taught myself, and like I said, another thing I learned from Tony is that sometimes when you think things are going wrong and you start getting on kids because you don't think they're performing well, you just have to step back and look at it and try to remind yourself that you're dealing with 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. They're not grown-ups, and that they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to lose concentration, going to lose focus. And your job is just to make sure that you can steer them back into that alley and get them back to where you need them so they can perform. It's a job. It really is sometimes.
Well, I tell you what, the roller coaster ride has been way up here over the past, 8, 9 years now, when you have guys like named Manning coming to your school, you get Peyton, you got Cooper. They really helped put Newman on the map, and now the little brother, which, it's funny, I first came here a couple of years ago, and I remember doing a story on Eli. He was a sophomore, and I hadn't really even talked to him in like 2 years, and I went at the beginning of the year and interviewed him, and I was like, oh my gosh, you really grew up a lot.
Yeah.
Man, you look like a real guy, grown up now.
They've, all three of the Mannings have all been built sort of similarly, they're sort of tall, kind of rangy kind of guys, and it has been a lot of fun being able to coach all three of them, and it's a situation that doesn't come around very often, and it doesn't come around often not only because they're brothers and they're siblings, but comes around that they're all good players and great kids and great characters. So I've been real fortunate.
Yeah, Eli has been a real leader on this football team, and I know you're bound and determined to run the football a lot more. And I tell you what, when you got a guy named Eli and he's throwing passes like this one, you got receivers catching balls like that too. Man, you want to put the ball up in the air.
Well, I tell you, it's hard sometimes because sometimes the coaches will say, why don't you do this or why don't you do that, and you're just trying to keep a fine balance. You're trying to make sure that you can showcase his talents and use everything that he can give you, but also that you have a lot of the players on the football team who are also good players. This year, for instance, Justin Seal is a heck of a running back for us, and he's a real threat. And what we've decided is that to be successful doing both of these things, to be able to run and to be able to pass, you've got to be able to do them both well. Yeah. And we've really balanced it off this year, and it's really paid off for us.
I bet it's tough, too, as a coach, and I'm sure the pressure's been on Eli. All you hear is, Eli, Peyton's brother, Cooper's brother, Eli. And people forget that this is a solid Newman football team, and there's more than just Eli Manning on the team. He's a great quarterback, and sometimes you get lost in the headlines and everything that you guys have a lot more there, too.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll start off with our defense. Our defense has played extremely well this year. I think they've only given up 50 or 60 points all year. Ken Lass and Bradley Farris and Don Kloss, who do the defense, work the defensive side for me, do a wonderful job each week getting the defense ready to play. We're not maybe as big as we were last year defensively, but I can tell you this, we're a lot quicker, and our secondary is second to none in any division.
Yeah, as we show an interception right there from the secondary to score a touchdown. Perfect timing, Coach.
Our secondary is manned by three seniors, Brandon Berger, Noel Hesse, and James Montgomery, and they not only defend well, but they're tall, rangy kind of kids. Brandon's about 6'3", James is 6'4", Noel is only 5'11", but he was an all-district, returner from last year. So our defensive secondary is really, giving us a big spark.
Hey, and it doesn't matter how good your offense is. You can have Eli Manning back there or whoever. As you remember, back in the late 70s, early 80s, Dan Fouts with the San Diego Chargers, they had probably one of the best offenses in the history of the NFL. They would put up points like there's no tomorrow, but they never had a defense. So they maybe make the playoffs, but they never have a chance of winning a championship. And you keep hearing it game after game and year after year and decade after decade. The defense wins the championships for it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm a firm believer that it takes a balance of things. But if you can't stop people, we've outscored people. We've scored 30 points and lost a football game. You really need to understand and make your kids understand that defense, although it may not get a lot of the publicity, a lot of the airtime, they're the ones that are giving the offense the ball in position where you can have a short drive after a turnover. They're the ones that come up with the big hit that sort of spark and get the momentum going for you. So, and I started off as a defensive coach with Coach Reginelli, and I was the defensive coordinator at Newman for 6-7 years before I moved to the other side of the football. So I had a great appreciation and understanding for what defensive coaches do, and then now is what an offensive coach has to do to get his team ready. So you got to be pretty good in all those areas to be successful.
Yeah, good deal. And you guys have been good at just about everything this year with a record of 9 wins and no losses, getting ready to, of course, start the playoffs. Friday night, Lupin Field will be taking on Ridgewood with a record of 5 wins and 4 losses as the second season begins the postseason here in the state of Louisiana. I'm Jeff Peterson, ABC 26 Sports. We are talking Newman Greenie football here on Cox Metro Sports. More with Coach Gendusa right after this. Sidelines at times, gets a little nervous, but you have some characters on the sidelines, huh?
Oh, that's Coach Lass right now. He's hollering out some sort of defensive signals. I'm assuming here, trying to tell him, watch out for screen, watch out for the draw. We're trying to tell him everything, and it's really fun when your coaches are enthusiastic and really care about the kids.
Yeah, it's funny when you got guys on the sidelines who are like, during somebody's punting, and they'll be going, watch for the fake, watch for the deep punt. Well, I mean, they're like, well, okay, well, we'll watch for everything, Coach, okay?
Plus, they don't hear you anyway. So, and if they do hear you, they're ignoring you because, Coach, we're playing and we're fine. But I'm really fortunate. I have an excellent staff. Yeah. We've been together for a long time. The only person I haven't mentioned has been Jeff Brock, who coaches the offensive lineman for us and does a lot of the scouting stuff. Coach Farris and I got to Newman 18 years ago. We've been together ever since, and Coach Brock has been there 16 years with us, and Ken Lass is in his 6th or 7th year with us, and Don Klaus, who is our most recent addition, has been with us for 3 years now, and so we haven't changed a whole lot coaching staff-wise, and it really adds a lot of stability to your program.
Yeah, and not only blessed with some great assistant coaches, and we talked about some great quarterbacks, wide receivers, defenses. We touched on a little bit in the second segment, but blessed with a quarterback like Eli Manning. And again, you have the entire team has helped you guys go to the playoffs the last 3 years, and here number 4 this year. But he has been quite a player to have on the Newman field for you.
Well, Eli, he's such a wonderful kid. He's, when he first started off in the program as a freshman, he was very, very quiet. I mean, the only words I basically got out of him for about 2 or 3 years was, yes, sir, or no, sir, or, whatever the proper response was. He has really opened up the last 2 years, and he's a lot of fun. We get along real well together. We're always meeting. For instance, I have an advisee group that I meet. I have 13 seniors in my advisee group, and actually 14 because Eli's always with us. I mean, he always comes in. He's good friends with some of the kids who are in my group, and so he's always around, and we're always kidding and clowning, and he's really turned into a rather fun, loving guy who likes to kid around with his buddies. So it's been, and put that on top of being just a great football player, he's just a wonderful kid to have around.
Well, you got the experience of going through what Peyton did with all the recruiters and the pile. And when I say piles, I really mean it. Piles and piles of brochures and letters and all that stuff. I mean, just boxes of this stuff. And going through with Peyton and what happened with him, and I know, Peyton probably, whenever he can, there to support Eli and brother Cooper and also Father Archie, but you got to be there right there too and help him with this thing. It's totally Eli's decision, but you're there to go, hey, I'll tell you what, have fun opening all those letters and everything, because it's a lot of work.
Well, I tell you, it's been a lot of fun the last few years having all those guys, but just with Eli, for instance, all the mail comes into my mailbox at school, so I
you need to have like a gigantic one, or like 10.
It's pretty big, and so I go in there, and it's usually stacked up, and probably 3/4 of it's for Eli, and I usually either pin it up on the board for him, or I tell him he's got to come pick it up because it's too much. But he's handled all of that really well. And I'm assuming it's because, Archie and Olivia, they're really great parents. They do a wonderful job with their kids. But having gone through it with Peyton and now having to go through it with Eli, I think it was a little easier. And the way Eli sort of approached it in his laid-back, easy style has made it easy for him. So I think he's handled it really well so far.
A lot of times there's a lot of pressure on certain people, and maybe they take it a little too much, all the attention. But, maybe you get the feeling that Eli's kind of having fun with it. Like, man, I can't believe all these people, want me, It's kind of crazy.
Well, last year, toward the end in May and in April and May of last year, when all the coaches are coming in and they're sort of inundating the school, man, we saw 50 or 60 coaches in a 3 or 4 week period. And it gets a little taxing because you don't want to brush them off. You want to try to give them some time. You want them to understand what kind of school you are and everything. And Eli's approached it on the step thing, so we listened to what they all had to say, or he did anyway. And then he narrowed it down to 12 or 13 schools, and now he's down to 5. And I think he just took a visit last week to Texas with his parents, and he really enjoyed his visit up there, and he's got a couple more visits to take. And I think he's going to, announce probably a little sooner. I think when he finishes with the playoffs here, hopefully in that December game in the Dome, when we finish up there, that he'll probably settle down, look at it for a little while, and then make a decision, and so he can get on with his life and go play basketball and do some of the other things he likes to do.
Yeah, I know we did a little piece with the Newman football team at Channel 26 earlier in the week, and the 5 schools are Texas, Virginia, LSU, Tulane, Ole Miss. Did I get those right?
Those are right. You got
those 5 schools, and I'm sure they're all like just.
Well, I just had a call right before I came here, actually. Coach Baldwin from LSU called up and wished us good luck in the playoffs. And so the coaches they're staying in touch with him. They're showing a lot of interest in him. And I think he's made really 5 nice choices that really fit for Eli. He's a kid like Peyton who was looking for a place where he could feel comfortable if he went to. And I think if he chose any of those 5 schools, he would feel the same way.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to talk to Peyton that much since he's played with the Colts?
Only once since, well, actually twice since he reported for camp. I talked to him on the telephone one time for just a few minutes, and then I spoke with him when he was in to watch Eli play against St. Bernard, and when he was in town. But he's really busy, and I got a letter from him about 3 weeks ago, wishing us good luck and telling me to stay on his little brother and make sure. But it's hard, and I know it's hard for him to try to. Try to stay in contact with us all, but every chance I get, I watch him on TV.
And the nice thing, just watching, I've interviewed Peyton maybe 6-7 times. I've been here in the area about maybe 3 years. But you watch him play a game with the Colts, and I know the team is not doing as well as they wanted to. Peyton wants to do a little better. He's thrown a lot of interceptions. But when you watch the games, here he is throwing like maybe 3 interceptions in a game, or maybe even a half, and you don't see him throw a helmet. You don't see him get mad. You don't see him cussing somebody. You got to okay, well, I just got to keep working hard. I think he knows that he's a rookie and he's going to make mistakes.
Well, absolutely. And he was he's just so much of a competitor. He just wants to win. And winning has been what he's done. And now he's having to deal with losing a little bit. And I think he's gotten over that. I think the first few games he had with Indianapolis and it was losing, he was having a hard time understanding that because he hadn't lost a whole lot in his career. Since he's a little bitty guy playing Pee-wee till now. And I think he's overcome that. And now I think he's just settling in and saying, I need to learn, and if this is what it takes for me to learn, then I'm going to go through it. But I'm going to stay positive. I'm not going to get on my players, on my teammates. And to me, he's really taking charge again like he did when he stepped into my huddle in high school and the way he did when he stepped into the huddle at Tennessee. So I think he's going to be a wonderful NFL quarterback. Only time's going to tell how great he's going to be.
And, it's nice on Jim Mora's part that his confidence is totally with Peyton. Doesn't matter what mistakes he's made, the games that he's lost, he is still the man. Where you look over what's happened with San Diego, Ryan Leaf, is benched. They've taken him out of a couple of games. He was benched. Now they've fired the coach, and I'm sure that's just got to be a crazy situation what Ryan Leaf is going through. And Peyton, I think, is they have so much confidence in him, and with Coach Moore and everything over there, it's really helped him out a lot, I think.
Like I said, it's just another thing that part of that confidence, like you said, that enables quarterbacks who are in that high-pressure situation and high-pressure position to be able to perform. Once you feel like you have the confidence of the coach, things are going to work for you because they know, one, that you're working hard to be the best you can and that you're doing the most you can for the team. So when you got the coach back and it just means a lot.
Eli trying to accomplish something that Cooper and Peyton couldn't, is not make it to the Dome and win a state championship.
Oh, geez, I think nothing would please Eli more. And not so much for him, maybe to have bragging rights with his brothers or anything, but just to get there and bring his teammates because he is a real team player and he's just a wonderful, wonderful kid. And I think he would like it more for Newman School and for his teammates than actually what he would care about for himself.
Good deal. Frank Gendusa, head coach, Newman Greenies. Good luck in the playoffs coming up Friday night. It is Newman and Ridgewood out of Lupin Field. Should be a great game on hopefully a beautiful night. Get out there and support the high school football playoff teams and have a great night. I'm Jeff Peters, ABC 26 Sports. Take care.